What's up, Dream Builder? Are you someone who's interested in creating a life by your design through all things real estate? Well, I can assure you, you are in the right place. Join me, your host, Casanova Brooks. I'm an award-winning real estate agent and investor as we uncover the top tips, strategies, and the mindset of the top real estate entrepreneurs across the world. Stay locked in because we're about to go on a journey that will change your life. Hey Dream Builder, this episode is powered by Design Crowd. Design Crowd is a website that helps entrepreneurs, startups, and small businesses get creative and quality designs. From custom logos to business cards and even web designs, there's a community of over 900,000 designers from all across the world that's ready to bring your idea to life in as little as hours. So head on over to designcrowd.com/DreamNation and see what all the hype is about. What's up, Dream Nation? So today we have a special guest on the show today. This guy has been featured in all of the major publications. I mean, I'm talking top 30 under 30, NBC, HGTV. It's been a lot of super dope things, and I've had the pleasure to now be connected with him. He is a fellow realtor who's been able to change a lot of lives, as you all know that I love to talk about. So do me a warm favor and help me welcome to the show Mr. Ivan Estrada. Ivan, you want to say what's up to Dream Nation?
Hey, Dream Nation, what's going on? Ivan Estrada from Los Angeles. I'm super excited to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So we're excited to have you on. I'm sure you're going to drop a lot of value. I always like to think of realtors and entrepreneurs in general as superheroes. And what do I mean by that is we fly around. We don't necessarily have a cape, but we're always trying to solve other people's problems and be able to help them out in any way possible. So I know that that's what you do in the Los Angeles market. But talk to me about if we could go back to when you were just a young boy. Tell me, before the fame, before helping many of your clients, who is Ivan Estrada?
Wow, who is Ivan Estrada? And we're talking like the younger me, like the much younger me?
Yeah, like we're talking about 5, 7 years old when your imagination is as big as it's ever been.
God, it's funny. So at 5 and 7, I didn't grow up as an only child, but I did grow up with a sister. And I think fairly on, I always felt that I really didn't fit anywhere. I always felt like kind of like the oddball. I felt like the oddball at school. The only time I didn't feel like the oddball was at home with my mom and dad. And dreaming, I think, was all I did. I dreamt of, my family and I, we grew up pretty like lower middle class, pretty poor. My parents were both immigrants from Mexico. And, even though we weren't living, in a bad area, we were still living in a 1-bedroom apartment. And I used to just like dream of what my life would be outside of this apartment. Like I always wanted to, be the first one to go to college, which I was because my parents didn't go to college. And then after college, I wanted to own my own business, which now I do. And I didn't really know what I wanted. I just know I wanted to be successful. I also wanted to set an example for my sister because both of us were kind of, even though she's my sister 3 years younger, like she's my best friend. Like she's the person that even now I go to when I need advice. And, she's kind of like been the rock of the family and actually keeps the family together. And so I think I always knew I wanted to do big things. I wanted to inspire others also on the way because growing up, I was bullied a lot and I know what that felt like. So, anytime I see someone bullied, now even like I'm always the person who goes and like tries to protect that person because I know what it's like. So I think, just always wanting to make the world a better place, make a better place for myself, for my family, and just try to be an example to not just my community, but I just think humanity in general.
I love it. And we have so many similarities when we talk about being first generations for things. And I was also raised by a gal who I consider my sister. She's my cousin. We're 9 months apart, but she's definitely been a rock for me in my entire life. So talk to me about if no one in your family ever owned businesses, where did that mentality come from for you to feel, one, that you had the audacity to go against what everyone else was doing? And then two, where did you get the knowledge to even, try to pursue running a business?
So my mother, she used to sell clothing out of the back of her car. So she would buy clothing in downtown. There's a lot of warehouses where there's a lot of, manufacturers, and she used to go buy stuff in bulk, and she used to sell them door to door. So early on, I learned from my mother how to run a successful business.
Right.
Also, I remember we used to do yard sales. I think when I started when I was like 6 or 7, and my mom I was in charge of the yard sale. So even though she was there, she taught me how to like negotiate, like how to sell, how to be thankful for ourselves. And I think like because of that, I just really started getting like the liking to it. Because then soon after that, I remember when there was the Power Ranger cards, the Pogs, I used to go and buy them in bulk and then sell them at school. So, and then I would sell candy at school, even though it wasn't like, at school, sometimes they would have like these like fundraisers, like this is candy that I would buy at the store in bulk and then sell it piece by piece at school.
Right.
So I think it's kind of always been in my blood to really kind of, I wouldn't say to be a salesperson, but to be a business owner and to make a profit. So at a really young age, I just started building up. All my money would go to the bank, by the way. I would never spend it on candy, on toys. Never really cared too much for toys. I asked my parents, take me to the bank, which was B of A, and at like 7 years old, opened up my account. And that's went back in the day when when there wasn't actually a card, it was like paper. They would write it on a notebook. But I think as time went by, I ended up going to school at USC for business and accounting. And I think that's when I really started kind of getting the knowledge. I was never a reader. It was really hard for me to read just because I had really bad ADD. So for me, like learning was pretty visual, like it had to be visual. And so like, when YouTube came out and the podcast and all this, while I was in college, like that really helped me that's when I started getting interested in reading and writing and really getting to know the lives of other entrepreneurs, business owners, strategies, and things that I was learning at school on top of that to kind of combine it together. Because at school it was, you're taking accounting 101, you're taking finance, you're taking econ, marketing, and all things that are great to have a good base, but they don't really teach you how to, be an entrepreneur or be a business owner or be, I think at a point that I've had to tell people this, it's like, you got to be street savvy too. You got to be book smart and street savvy and combine that together to really kind of build a business that's successful, that people trust, and something that you love.
No, I love it, right? They say, a formal education can make you a rich man, but, being street savvy or having experience more than anything else can make you a wealthy man. So I love that. So talk to me about how did real estate come into about? What was your trajectory when how did you get into real estate? And then, what was those first year or two like for you?
So I got into real estate. It's going to be 9 years in December, I believe. No, it'll be 9 years in March of next year.
Got it.
And so before I was in real estate, I was in accounting. I worked at a big firm in downtown. I was there for almost 4 years, and I was good at what I did, but there was just no passion to it. Like absolutely no passion. It was a job. It had gotten to the point where I would sit in my cubicle and think, this is it. Like, this is what I went to school for. Like, this is life. And I would tell my mom and dad, I don't like it. Every Sunday afternoon for me was awful. I hated waking up to go to school. Because it's not school, but work on Monday morning. And it just wasn't my passion. And unfortunately, like, my parents, I think the way that they grew up was like, well, that's just life. We sometimes don't do the things that we love. Like this is work. This is, you put food on the table. This is how you pay your mortgage. This is, how you feed yourself and you feed your family. So it is what it is. You went to college. So be, grateful for that opportunity. Yeah. But it just, for me, it wasn't enough. I just wasn't enough for me. And a friend of mine who was his parents were in real estate in North Carolina. I think this was when $1 Million Listing first came out, season 1. I had never seen real estate to be, something that a younger person would do. This was something that I would see my mom's friends do on the side, or there were teachers who would do this on the side, or they were just homemakers and, mostly women. And so I just never thought of it as like an actual career or a business. And I think it got to the point where I think I read about 20 books on real estate, like negotiating, farming, The Best Website, The $1 Million Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller. I mean, there was so many books that I had read and things that I've listened to that it just literally, I just felt, okay, I think this is it. Like, this is it for me. And I ended up doing an internship on my break from my accounting job, and then just quit. I quit my job. My parents were upset. My family was upset. Friends, my company didn't want to leave me. They said, no, like, why would you go and do that? That's, you know, this was especially like during the time of the recession.
That's
like,
what I was going to ask. Yeah,
yeah,
so this is right about 2009, right?
2009. Yeah, no, yeah, pretty much. And so everyone, there wasn't one person who said, congratulations, you're going for your dream. Everyone was saying, you're making a huge mistake. And so I just, honestly, I think it was probably the most the riskiest thing I've ever done, but I think it's the best thing that I have ever done. The first 2 years were tough, even though I thought, okay, well, I have my CPA license. I worked at a major CPA firm. I have 2 degrees from the University of Southern California, which is one of the best business and accounting schools in the country. I should be fine. And, you know, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. I thought, okay, well, you know, I have all these connections, USC connections. I was born and raised in LA, shouldn't be a problem. It still takes time, you know, still takes time to build that foundation. And, you know, at that time, I was actually working for a company called Patina as a server. I had never served food and never served tables before. I lied to get the job. At that point, I had pulled all my investments, cashed them all out, paid the penalties, but I just knew where I was going. And I knew that this is something that I wanted to do. And, you know, I got to the point, I think once, where I literally had $500 in my bank account. My rent was $1,200. And I was like, and I had no deals in the pipeline. And I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I can't ask my parents because they're saying, you know, if it doesn't work out, you have to go back to accounting. So I don't want to prove them right.
Right.
So what am I going to do? And, you know, I got this big, huge sale in, which completely took me out of the waiting the tables, which I think was an amazing experience. I really learned a lot about myself. And from then on, just kind of, my life kind of took off.
Nice. So talk to me about your first year, you know, because a lot of people who are listening to this podcast, they're just now getting their license, or, you know, a lot of people say that we're about to hit, you know, some type of a recession, and not necessarily to the point of 2008, but we're going to have a market correction. So for somebody who's just gotten their license in the last 6 months, or maybe they're just re-ramping up their career, looking to build their personal brand in the next 6 months, what did you do in your first 6 months that allowed you to help or that allowed you to jumpstart your business that you really say you would probably do over again?
So the thing that I think that I did the first 6 months was really helped a lot was I figured out, okay, what are my strong suits? Like you always have to figure out who your tribe is. And for me, being here in Los Angeles, USC is a big deal. It's USC against UCLA, right?
Right.
And so USC, I had access to the alumni directory. And so these are people that went to the same school that I did, graduated. There's a lot of camaraderie between us. And so I had access to their phone numbers, to their emails. And so what I did was I created a newsletter that was half USC about the games, any new buildings coming into the area, restaurants, and then at the bottom, it was all about Los Angeles real estate. So I combined both of those items on that one newsletter. And so I would call everybody. Hey, my name is Ivan Estrada. I'm a USC alum. By the way, I'm not asking for money because they always call and they ask for money. And so I'm not asking for money, but I do need your help. And they would be like, oh, well, like, what's wrong? And I said, well, I just left my accounting job. You know, I was doing accounting as a CPA for 4 years. And now I'm in real estate. This is my passion. This is my dream. Do you know anyone who's looking to buy, sell, or invest in the next 3 to 6 months? And they would be super nice about it. Well, let me think about it. No, like, I'm definitely not, but wait, maybe one of my neighbors, let me ask her. And then I said, well, that would be great. I'm going to write down my notes to call you back within a week. Would a week be sufficient enough to figure out if your neighbor wants to sell or not? Oh yeah, that'd be great. And also, would it be too much trouble to add you to my newsletter? It's a USC Los Angeles real estate newsletter. It talks about all the USC games, you know, any new buildings that are coming into the campus, and then it'll talk about the Los Angeles market. I'm just sending it once a month. I really don't want to bother people. I just want to provide enough knowledge and, you know, value as I can. And they would be so nice. Oh yeah, here's my personal one. You can also have my business one. Take me maybe 2 minutes. And that's what I would do for like 6 hours out of my day. And so that's how I started building my database of USD alum. And so that's what I say, you know, who's your tribe? For me, that's my tribe. My other CPAs are my tribe. I'm huge into fitness. So I also, you know, there's another newsletter that goes after people that are interested in fitness. So, you know, I think for someone who's starting off, is figuring out, what do you enjoy doing? You know, are you huge on, you know, outdoor activities, or are you a good mingler? Like, do you like going to networking events and socializing? Or do you have a dog and you love other dog owners? Like, maybe there's groups out there that you can join, or, you know, there's a lot of groups here in LA, especially about, you know, pounds. So there's a lot of pounds here. People go in and, you know, volunteer their time. And, you know, especially when people that are volunteering their time, a lot of them are well-to-do type of people if they're volunteering and have nothing else to do. And that's like a good tribe that you can start building relationships, you know, right off the bat, and, you know, become either future friendships. You can meet your future wife or husband there, or get business, you know? So it's like a win-win-win-win-win.
I love it. I love it. For you now, a lot of your business, do you focus on still doing like newsletters, or are you really big into social media, getting business from, you know, things like Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, things like that? Where does the bulk of your business come from now? Not from your sphere, if that makes sense. Because I know you probably get a lot of business from your sphere.
Right,
now.
right, yeah. So would you consider past clients a sphere?
Yeah, I would consider that, yeah, your sphere.
So, okay, so taking past clients out of it, because I do have like 175, which I heavily still market to monthly, yearly with big parties. I would say social media. So for me, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are huge platforms for me, because I started doing video maybe like 6-7 years ago. When no one else was doing video, and I started just kind of walking around the neighborhood, or it was usually in front of something pretty cool like the Santa Monica Pier or Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, and I would talk about what was going on in the market, but not just give people stats, but it was more like design like trends or technology trends, or, you know, there's this three new, you know, restaurants hitting the Los Angeles area with, you know, rooftop bars, just perfect for the summer. And, you know, I started doing things like that. And people started following me. And I think within the last couple of years, it's really cemented my brand with my followers. I mean, I have past clients there as followers, other CPAs. I mean, it's a ton of group of people that are following me. And I think we put out content almost daily through my stories, through YouTube. YouTube is weekly, Facebook is daily, and then the Facebook stories are also daily. And so we mix and match it with like live stuff or things that have been recorded, podcasts like this. And it's just a constant reminder telling people, without telling people, this is what I do. So when you're ready, or if you know of someone, I'm that guy that you call. And so, I mean, I just got back from Dubai, and I was showing a bunch of, the new Royal Atlantis residences that we are selling. And so I was shooting a bunch of video, and I got 2 people that I have no idea where they came from. They're just followers. They live in Dubai. I've been interested in that building. I want to see them. Can you get me more information? And I was able to connect them to the actual, like, because I don't do business in Dubai. It's just me taking the business. Of course, I get a cut from it. But I was able to connect them to the actual broker of the Royal Atlantis, which, you know, just from my videos, just from an Insta story, which was, you know, took me a couple seconds to film.
No, I love that. I love it. So for people, there's a lot of people out there that they're trying to get more into video. They're trying to get their face out there, because now with the evolution and revolution of where the industry is going now, it's become more than ever so big to build your personal brand, to let people know who the person is in front of the brokerage, right? The person that's out there. So for anybody, were you ever afraid of the camera, or you were always kind of somebody that loved to put a camera in your face? Because you were featured on HGTV, right?
Yeah. So I've done stuff on HGTV, Bravo, and NBC. I think I love doing it. I think naturally it's just something that I just gravitate towards being on camera. Like I feel super comfortable just talking to you and just looking at the lens. But I know for other people, I have, including my assistant, I tell her to do videos and, it's maybe something that she's not comfortable with, but
Right.
it's something that takes time. I've seen people shoot videos that, I've seen video 1, now they're at video 30 or 35, and I've seen the progression, of how comfortable they've gotten with the time. And I think it's just like everything else. It's practice. It's practice. It's doing it as many times as you can. It's allowing yourself to make mistakes. Is not being so hard on yourself. The first time I did it, I wasn't smiling. I didn't look happy. I looked miserable, actually. And so I looked at myself and I was like, this isn't my thing. I don't want to do it. And it was just, it just takes practice. Practice over and over and over again, not being so hard on yourself. Not making this mistake, which I did, was asking everyone what do you think? What do you think? Everyone else is going to have their own opinion about either what you're saying or how you look or how you're presenting it. It's like, as long as you're good with you and obviously, like, this is something now as realtors, Tom Ferry said this, I was at a seminar, you have to do it. Like, it's not like, okay, maybe I'll do it. It's like, you have to do it, because if not, you're going to become irrelevant and you're going to become extinct in this business.
Yes, no, absolutely. So for you right now, over the next, 3 months, 6 months, like, what's a new thing that you've been working on that you're excited to talk about? Is there anything different that's changing in your business going into 2020? Hey, Dream Builder, if you're anything like me, you have no idea how to come up with a quality logo or even a creative design. You know that quality is important, but it's not always the easiest to nail down, right? That's where Design Crowd comes in. Whether it's a logo, a website, book cover, or even a social media ad, they have a community of over 900,000 professional designers around the world ready to help solve your creative problem. Head on over to designcrowd.com/DreamNation to learn more. And just for being a part of the DreamNation tribe, you're going to receive a special VIP offer when you sign up of up to $150 credit. Now, instead of waiting weeks for an agency to pitch you an idea, you'll be able to get a design of exactly what you need within just 3 days. So again, head on over to designcrowd.com/DreamNation and check it out.
Yeah, there is. So 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, actually, I started building a team. And even though I have the help of my managers, I have one of the best coaches in this country who's amazing and who's also become a really good friend of mine. And I, started adding bodies to the team. I felt like just to add bodies, even though I was like, well, if they sell 2 or 3 houses a year, especially in LA, our median price point is, depending on the area, it could be like 2.3 million, 2.5. I was like, that's not bad. I think that's fine. But it got to the point where I had a ton of people on my team, but I think the amount of time that I was spending with them was taking away from, I would say, like, my business, and for me also running my clients and working with my clients. And what I did a couple months ago, I actually got rid of everybody. Yeah. And so it was hard for me to do it, but I think that in the last couple of years, I really learned what I need for my team, what I don't need. I made some mistakes along the way, which every mistake that I made was my mistake, but I think that's how you learn. Even though, like I said, I had my coach, I had managers, I would watch my, podcasts on leadership, how to be the best team leader, how to coach, your team so you can encourage them and motivate them. Even though you have all of that, I think you actually have to do it and allow yourself to make a mistake. And for me, when I got rid of everyone, I took it pretty personal to myself as like a failure. Even though I didn't want to see it as a failure, I still felt like, wow, like, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done this and I shouldn't have done that. And maybe I should have gotten rid, I should have maybe let go of them sooner. And I kind of went through this whole like mental situation where I was feeling bad about myself because I had, I built this team of 7 agents and now it's just me again. But I think that was probably the best thing I could have ever done. I learned so much about myself. I learned about what I actually need moving forward to actually be a productive team. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I actually just hired 2 guys. They start at the end of the year. One is an Olympian, gold medalist, track runner in 2012, I believe. And so, he's going to be coachable. He's great. He's been in the business for a while, so it's not someone that's new who doesn't know what they're getting themselves into. It's someone who's very, coachable. Like I said, I think that's huge in this business.
It is.
Ambitious and a go-getter. And so I think like now I have the formula that I need in order to actually now like take a huge leap forward. Like sometimes you just have to take one step back and collect yourself and then, and then launch yourself. So I think for me, that's going to be like the biggest, most exciting thing going into 2020.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you said that, because I did the exact same thing after I came out of the gates and built what I built in real estate. I got up to 6 agents really quickly, and I quickly found that they loved the status that they could say, hey, this is my team leader, and they loved the camaraderie, but they weren't executing the way that I was executing, right? So then when I looked at it, I was just gonna put bodies on the team, and eventually I would be able to help them. But then when you start looking at your production that's going down, plus you're also putting on team parties, you're not only is your time being spent, but you're also investing a lot of money into systems and more coaching to be able to give them a different ear. And so I seen that was costing a lot of money. So I respect you for being able to share that. And then also being able to detox, like you said, but then come back stronger and not lose yourself in the point, because you know that you're still the same person. You tried to give more, but there was just a different scenario of how you maybe could have went about it. So that's so huge that you say that. And I talk to so many team leaders and people all across the country that do have these teams, but if you ask them to take out their production, those teams are not very profitable. And so I definitely, I respect you for it, and thank you for sharing. So to move it along, what do you feel it's to be a top agent? What do you feel that someone needs to have to be able to produce at better than a market rate? So I know every market is different. For here in Omaha, if you're not doing at least, I would say 30 deals, that you're not, doing it. But in California, I would say if you can do 7 to 8 deals, seeing as it's such a higher price point, is that a pretty good number?
I mean, it's a pretty good number. Depends on what area you're in. Obviously, because Los Angeles is so big, there's areas where the median price point's like 900,000, and there's other areas where the median price point is 10 million. So it all, it very depends on where you're at, and it's, but regarding like the amount of, what was the question again? Sorry.
Yeah. So what would you say is what makes a successful agent in your eyes? Right? Okay. When you look at someone and you say they're coachable, but what else do they need to have for you to say, listen, if he or she does this, they will be very successful?
So I think first and foremost is you have to love this business. I come across a lot of other agents who either, well, I've been wanting to try it, or they're doing something else and they're like, well, this will kind of, it'll be like some little side income I could make, or, the question that I've had to ask people, especially, this is something that I asked the 2 agents that I interviewed, which was the last question. And I said, if this doesn't work out, what's your backup plan? And both of them said, I don't have a backup plan. This is what I want. So I think that's the most important thing. I remember when someone asked me that exact same question 9 years ago, I said the exact same thing. I said, I don't have a backup plan. This is my thing, and this is what I'm going to do. So I think love and passion for this business, because it gets hard. And, as much as the highs can be super high and the lows can be super low. So you have to make sure that you love this business so much that when it's low, that it does not matter, because you know that this is something that you love doing. You know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's something that's going to get you across. Because I've seen people, when it gets low, that's when they leave. But then ultimately, if it's not something you really wanted anyway. Right. So I think that's the biggest thing, is love and passion for what you do. You have to be systematic and dedicated to your job. Even though, I'm here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., sometimes 7:30 a.m. to 4 or 5 p.m., obviously in and out when I'm seeing clients or networking or lunches or whatever it might be. But I'm here Monday through Friday, no matter what. My newsletters are being sent out monthly, no matter what. I'm doing videos weekly, no matter what. I don't care if I'm sick. I don't care if I'm going to be on vacation, I will film 2 videos the week prior. So that way that content is there. So I think being very systematic with your approach and how you see this business, even though there's no set hours, to really have a calendar, be accountable to, okay, if I'm going to prospect for 2 hours, Monday through Friday, I'm going to prospect between those 2 hours no matter what. That's it. And so just staying and being true to your word. And just, I think that's one of the biggest ingredients to success in this business.
I love it. Now, you talked about that you weren't a big reader in the beginning, but now, you've listened to podcasts, you study a lot of YouTube. What's been the most influential for you in the real estate game?
In the real estate game, I think the biggest book, so when I'm at Douglas Elliman now, I used to be at Keller Williams. They have this thing called the Red Book, which Gary Keller wrote, which I have a lot of respect for. Great man, done a lot of great things. That book really taught me to run my real estate practice as a business and not run as an agent, because I'm sure you see that a lot. You see agents run as agents, but not as business people. At the end of the day, we're in sales, but then we're also in marketing, we're in advertising, we're in accounting, we're in business planning. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do. And so I think that book really helped me kind of put all the experience that I've had in my past, college experience that I've had from marketing and finance, my CPA, it just put everything together. And that's what I think it really kind of gave me that mindset, because it's the mindset of like, I am a business owner. I am an entrepreneur. I do have to run a profit and loss statement every month. And I do have to run, I have key performance indicators that I run every month as well. What's working? What's not working? What's my open rate on my newsletter? How many more followers did I get on Instagram or YouTube? Those are things that as a business owner, I have to make sure and keep an eye on it, because if something's not working, either I have to get rid of it, or I have to make it better, or I have to replace it with something else. So I think that book, the Red Book, was a really good real estate book to read for anybody. It doesn't matter what company you work for. It is a Keller Williams book, but I think for anyone who's running a real estate business should definitely read that book.
Right. And outside of real estate, what's been the most influential for you?
So there's this book, and I'm not very religious whatsoever, but there's a book called Conversations with God. I read that book maybe a month ago, and it really kind of gave me some perspective on life and myself. And it kind of, even though I think I know what my why is, my family, and, I have my vision board, all of that. But I think that book really got me to get down to what my purpose is. Because at the end of the day, I love real estate and it's great. But I don't want people to say at my funeral, oh, he was the best real estate agent. He sold so many sales. Like, that is part of my identity, but not my identity that I want to make sure that I leave. Like, my legacy isn't going to be he sold the most houses. That's great, but that's not what I want my thing to be. And I think that book really opened me up to more soul searching of what it is that I want to leave behind.
Talk to me. What is that? What do you want your legacy? What's that one sentence? Did what?
So growing up in a Latino community, like I grew up in a Latino community and with parents that were immigrants, I grew up with the mentality that there was a ceiling to what I could achieve. I really didn't have any role models. The people that I would see that were Mexican Latino were working as mechanics, as gardeners, as housekeepers, packing groceries at the grocery store. So for me, I never really allowed myself to dream, because that was it. I felt like that was what I was predetermined to do. My dad was, a janitor. That's what he did. And my mom was selling clothing at the back of her car. So I felt like there was a ceiling for what I could do. And now, when I got 30 under 30 and everything that I've been building, including just this morning, I got an Instagram message and these happen on the daily, Instagram, email, YouTube, whatever it is, from from other Latino kids or people that are my age just saying, I thank you for what you've done. Like, I've been looking at everything that you do, and you're so inspirational. And at first, when this started kind of happening 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, well, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. Like, okay, like, but I would kind of like, didn't get it. And so now, as I'm like, going through my career and getting a little older and seeing what's happening, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. My mother always said, I want you to be an example for your sister. But I feel like I've been kind of, my purpose is to be an example, not just to my Mexican community, but to, the minority community, the people that think that they can only do this because that's where they were raised and that's what people in their community are doing, or that's what their parents are telling them. And so I feel like that's going to be my purpose, is to really, to help these kids. I wish there was someone when I was 10 or 11 years old who could come to my class and say, hey, my name is so-and-so. This is who I am. This is what I've done. This is who I used to be. This is where I used to grow up, to see that opportunity. And so I was just actually telling one of my really good friends, Sarah, she's doing this thing for her community. Was like, I'm going to these schools and speaking to these kids in, underprivileged areas, and showing them that it is possible to make that jump, that it is possible. She's a huge, massive attorney here in Los Angeles now, huge. And so I think that that's what my legacy is going to be, is, setting an example and helping out these kids who probably, again, they're only being exposed to, what they're being exposed to. And I kind of want to break that mentality. It's all a mentality thing. And for me, it's, my sister was like, well, maybe you'll be like the Latino Tony Robbins to our Latino community, because that doesn't exist. And I'm like, you know what? You never know. So we'll see. We'll see where life takes me. But that's what makes me super excited. I love real estate, but that's, I think, what I'm going to make part of my big, massive 2020 plan moving forward.
I love it. Well, I hope you do, man. And I love to support you in any way possible on that journey. What's one thing you wish that I would have asked you that I haven't already?
Oh, God. You asked me a lot. Let me think. I think a question that I do get asked a lot, and I do like this question, is if there's anything that you can change, would you? Anything that any major decision you've made, or anything that you've done or not done. And a couple of years ago, I would have said yes. But now I would say definitely no. I think everything that happens to us, and I wouldn't say like, because some people are like, oh, why did that happen to me? Or why did this have to happen? I don't think things happen to us. They happen for us so that we can figure out who we really are. And I think the person that I've become because of the challenges that I've had, both personally, in business, with my family, other situational things, health things that I had to go through, they've built me into who I am now. And, because of all those things, I've now like really learned to love myself and who I am. And I think that those are the things that you need to be the most authentic at your job, with your family, with your peers. And that's why, I would never, I don't think there's one thing I would change. I embrace the falls and I embrace the successes. And I think that's, those are all the ingredients that, created Ivan Estrada.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. I think the great Jim Rohn he says most of the time people are just trying to get through life, right? They're trying to get through the day. But the great ones, if you really think about it, you should be trying to get from and then from the day, right? What do you take from it? Because there's always a lesson to be learned. So just like you said, I mean, you got to embrace everything, because joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain, right?
Exactly. So, how do you know joy if you don't get pain, right? Like,
absolutely.
That's how you're able to really like value the joy.
No, that's so great, man. Well, hey, it's been a phenomenal episode. I'm glad that we got to get you on the show, and I look forward to bringing you back again. I look forward to watching you in 2020 grow your team, grow your business, and then also grow your influence across the country, because I'm sure there's many people out there, whether they're minority or not, that can gain some inspiration from you. So the last thing for anybody that's listening right now, whether they're thinking about getting into real estate, they're thinking about growing their influence or their business, but maybe they have a small voice in their head that's trying to say, to them that maybe they're not. What that means is they're not strong enough. They're not smart enough. They don't have enough resources. What would you say, one thing that you would say to that person?
Well, first of all, like you have to just really seek within and listen and do to what you think is best for you. I wouldn't be here right now if I would have listened to everyone when they said, "What are you doing leaving accounting? You should stay in accounting. That's your thing, not real estate." So I followed my heart. I followed my passion. I knew that this was going to create the life and the dream that I wanted. And so just really seeking within, and you'll never make a mistake doing that. I think we get confused once we start asking other people for their opinions. So just follow your heart, follow your gut, follow your instinct, and take action with no fear. Because fear, honestly, if I would not be here if I were, I still have fears, don't get me wrong, but it's all about acknowledging those fears and then doing what you can to move past them and to grow stronger. Because once you do get past those fears, I mean, you feel amazing.
Right. Everything you want is on the other side of the fear.
Exactly.
Right. No, I love it. Well, there you have it, people. The most important thing is to just take action, like the man himself said. So thank you again for coming on, and we look forward to having you on again. Till the next time.
Absolutely. And if anybody has any questions, I'm like super active on Instagram, Facebook, more Instagram. So if you want to follow me, send me a message. It's Ivan Estrada Properties. And you could also see everything that I do and just copy it. It's been working for me. So I'm pretty sure, don't reinvent the wheel. Just, make it better.
Just make it better. Well, thank you again. And we look forward to the next time. If you've gotten anything out of this episode, do me a favor and head on over to iTunes if you have access and leave me a review. My whole goal is to make sure that I'm serving you all the right way. You're my tribe. You're who I care about. You're why I do this. So if you want to give me any type of thanks, or if you want to let me know whatever your thoughts or your feelings are from this episode or any other episode that you've listened to, leave me a rating or review. And also, if you're looking for more tips, strategies, and even resources when it comes to leveling up your real estate game, head on over to DreamNationAcademy.com. We have a really cool real estate section there, and it's something that I wish that I would have had when I first got started in real estate. So that's DreamNationAcademy.com. Don't wait. I'll see you on the other side.